17 South Africans have reportedly been lured into joining mercenary forces in Ukraine's Donbas region, with reports suggesting they were promised lucrative jobs. President Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned the exploitation of young, vulnerable citizens and is working to bring them home. To help us understand how foreign recruitment works, why young people are being targeted, and the broader implications, we join now by security expert Professor Thomas Mandrup, Associate Professor at the Royal Danish Defence College and Stellenbosch University here in South Africa. Professor Mandrup, thank you for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for having me, Sandra. And good morning to your listeners.
We appreciate your time. So, 17 South Africans reportedly recruited into mercenary forces in Ukraine. What about conflicts like this make easy targets of those searching for jobs and therefore provide an advantage to foreign recruiters?
Yeah, one can argue that of course the employment situation and high unemployment in South Africa, for instance, in other places in Africa, makes this very lucrative way to earn easy money. The salary, you get a lump sum to sign up, and then you get around $2,200 a month working as a front soldier for Wagner, for instance, or the Africa Corps in Russia. So for many impoverished youth, this is a way out of poverty, and it's a way to earn some money, but it's also a highly dangerous job, of course.
Could this be classified as human trafficking? What are the factors that would need to be scrutinized to know where to place
I'm not a
this?
lawyer, so I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to go into that. But one can say that for the South African case, working for an entity like Wagner or after the Africa Corps, which is the new version of Wagner, owned by the Russian Minister of Defense, is against the South African law. You need to have clearance from the National Conventional Arms Control Committee to work for international non-South African military entities, and we are not allowed from a African law to work for private security companies in a war zone like this. And actually, you risk up to 5 years imprisonment if you sign up for Wagner without proper control. So of course they're abusing South Africans, but also people from Sierra Leone, Togo. We've seen Kenya and others working especially from the Russians in this war. And again, as I said, it's a highly dangerous job. We just have to remind ourselves that the British intelligence service yesterday announced that they had calculated that Russia has lost around 1.2 million soldiers or wounded in this conflict. So it's a highly dangerous job, and the way the Russians fight the war is and they use their soldiers as cattle, and they're shot down on the battlefield, and the casualty numbers are staggering.
Do we know how these recruiters identify and then also approach those potential recruits from countries like South Africa and Kenya?
And they use networks. They have recruitment offices some places. They contact organizations of former soldiers. So they use existing networks. They have ads where you can apply for this kind of things. On the Ukrainian side, Ukraine is a bit different, because if people signing up for the International Legion in Ukraine, which is the Ukrainian Armed Forces international volunteer units, the embassies have sent out notices that you can sign up for the Ukrainian army. But that's different, because then you sign up for the Ukrainian state, fighting for the Ukrainian state. But it still requires the acceptance and that it goes through the National Control Committee, Arms Control Committee, and get acceptance for that. But it's still less problematic than working for a private entity like Wagner, for instance. So they use the official channels, they use offices, then they use networks to attract people for this kind of thing. And often they lure them, and we've seen that also. We have so many cases now, also in Russia, where women, especially from Africa, are lured to Russia on the account of being told that they're going to have a very lucrative job, and then they end up working like semi-slaves in arms factories, producing drones and other military equipment, and it's very difficult to get out and difficult to get home if you don't want to be there anymore. And that's so it is, as you say, there is elements of what one would consider trafficking in that sense. And it's again, if you sign into an army like this, and you want to get home, it can be quite difficult to get out of that contract. And seemingly, that's for the sake of these young South Africans, one can hope that the president is successful talking to most Putin. We don't know who yet, who they're working for, but most likely is Russia. So we hope that we can hope that the president will be able to actually do something about that and talk to Putin to get them out.
What kind of risks do these individuals face once they are involved in foreign conflict? You mentioned that it becomes difficult for them to exit the country when they want to.
Mm. Yeah, but the risk is, of course, that it's if they work in the Russian army, again, as I mentioned, the casualty numbers are staggering. So they are involved in a illegal war of aggression. They're contravening South African law. So they're both the risk of being killed or wounded in the conflict itself. Is the risk of facing criminal charges when they come home because they contravening South African law. So there's a lot of risk in this. And again, for maybe there's a $2,200 a month, which is the reported amount they get. Maybe that can sound a lot of money for if you're unemployed, but to risk your life and to risk 5 years imprisonment for mercenary activity is not worth it.
Professor, we'll leave it there, and thank you so much. I guess we need to, as young people need to learn the lesson to be more vigilant and do background checks and proper due diligence before accepting such offers.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate your time. Professor Thomas Mandrup from the Royal Danish Defence College and Stellenbosch University, helping us unpack the complex issue of South Africans being recruited into mercenary forces in Ukraine. He also cites an example of Kenya that he's seen. In the next hour, we will continue with this discussion and speak to a civil rights organization, Forum for South Africa, and this organization is calling for the government to urgently help the men aged between 20 and 39.
The world is